This movie kinda sucks, but it's kinda amazing at the same time. It fucks up a lot of shit, but it ends up being a really enjoyable, fun movie, and it's pretty funny at times. But like a lot of horror comedies, it kinda falls flat because it thinks it needs to rely on comedy just because it's a horror comedy. Because that's always what horror comedies do. They do more jokes than they do more scares. There's a perfect scene where the cops can kill the last and final killer. Though later we find out the girl is still alive, which I'm assuming that's who it was. And, anyway, back to the point. They have, like, the perfect opportunity to kill the guy, and they think they need to make a stupid joke instead. They have, the one love interest in the movie get killed. And they're like, everybody get down, and the last three survivors lay down on the ground. So the cops can, kill the guy. And the cops just don't shoot. And the deputy has to say, hey, fucking shoot, you idiots. Because apparently they needed to make a joke there. Another thing is, in the beginning of the movie, they try and hype up these 6 psychopaths as, like, worse than Dahmer, worse than Gacy, worse than Bundy. But they have them, most of them get killed in, like, the lamest ways. The dentist who's never injured before and always got done with his victims, gets killed by an already injured guy and one girl. Sure, he's taken by surprise at first, but that doesn't excuse how he loses when he still fights for like a full minute and a half, and he still loses after he's taken by surprise. Then there's one guy that's barely in the movie. They hyped him up as the most creepy one, and then he does nothing. He walks in, says, hey, this is just a misunderstanding. I'm not one of the killers, and he just gets shot. Lame as fuck. And they hype up the final act, right, when there's about 20 minutes left, and they reveal that they've been killing everybody, and it's not fake. And this is after the dentist was already killed. We only have 5 killers left, and now it's the final act? The dentist should have been there. And then they hype up the chef weirdo guy that was serving two customers as like a creepy guy, and he's still able to lose even though he gets a fork. I mean, he's still able to win and kill somebody even though he gets a fork stabbed in his eye, though later he loses to 2 people with a pan. Yeah. And then, another thing is that they try and, like, have this, like, plot twist that doesn't even matter. And back to the other cop, because one of them is Doyle, who's kind of just used for comedic purposes. And then the other one might as well just be used for comedic purposes, because she's the sheriff and she's supposed to be the smart one, but she makes the dumbest decisions. She leaves the civilians by themselves, which that should get her in trouble if she did survive, but she doesn't. And she goes after her dad, which was the plot twist that I just mentioned, by herself. Without her deputy, though, the deputy was kind of just used for comedic purposes, so I see why she didn't take him. But yeah, she goes by herself, and obviously she loses. Then, the only 2 ones I can really take seriously are, the mental Manny and the clown guy. The girl I can't really take seriously because her whole thing is just being the guy's daughter. Because half of her lines are just saying daddy. And then, I get it's a horror comedy, but some of the shit is so stupid. This, like I already said, the sheriff gets killed. Stitchface stitches, like the face onto her body so she can sneak into an ambulance. So when the cops check her, she obviously has a pulse because she's disguised. So that's how the movie ends. You see a knife coming out of, her sleeve, and then she screams. Woohoo. The best thing I can say about this movie is, as long as you don't think about any of it, it's a really enjoyable movie. It's funny at times. But, actually, let's go back to one thing. Remember when I said the dentist got killed by, an already injured guy and the one girl? And of course he was taken surprise by first, but he still lasted for a minute and a half. The one guy that beats him later gets killed for basically no reason. The one guy accidentally shoots him in the head. Right after, of course, funny joke, he criticized the one deputy for not being good at shooting. And speaking of the deputy not being good at shooting, when he first runs into the clown, he misses like fucking 7 shots and he runs out of all of his bullets. And after that, he's just perfect at shooting. Because like I said, the one guy comes into the room and is just like, hey, I'm not one of the killers, this is just a misunderstanding. He shoots him like 6 times easily. And then later he runs into the clown guy again and just shoots him in the gut. Just why? What was the point of him being an awful shot if he's just gonna be really good at it later? What else? I can't really think of anything right now. But yeah, there was a lot of stupid stuff in this movie. Like, I really don't get how you're gonna hype them up as like super awesome, and then in the end, only 2 we can take seriously is Mental Manny and the clown guy. And the clown guy is the only one that puts up a fight. Like I already said, the one guy walks into the room, he gets shot. The tubby guy barely puts up a fight, he just throws stuff at them and then ends up getting burnt to death. The dentist guy puts up a fight for a minute and a half, but he doesn't even really do anything in the fight. Because he doesn't kill either of them, and one of them is injured and has all of his teeth pulled out. Mental Manny gets shot in the foot, bragging because he thought that the sheriff wasn't actually going to shoot him. So he runs away, and then later he gets killed while barely putting up a fight. The sister girl barely puts up a fight when she supposedly gets killed, and we later find out she's still alive. And the clown guy, who was the coolest one in there and got probably the most kills in the movie, he put up a fight quite a few times, but at the end he got killed because he was kind of stupid. He just kills somebody and then screams, like trying to be scary, and then he just stands there kinda while the 3 people are on the ground. And then he gets shot to death by the cops. Like, he was literally the only one you could take seriously. I don't know, but if you're just watching it as an enjoyment aspect and not trying to critique the movie, it's really good. But yeah, not too much horror in it. There's scenes that are like kind of intense but not scary. Like the girl on the cover right there, who already told you her main character is just calling her dad daddy. It's not like an incest thing, though. It's just that's what she says. That's her whole character, calling her dad dad. And killing people every now and then. The only kind of intense scene is this girl, Christine. I basically forgot about who was in the movie. She has a decent fight with her in the bathroom. But yeah, movie kind of sucked. But it was funny, entertaining. But I just can't believe that they would hype up these guys as worse than 3 of the most infamous killers. They had a really good line. And then they just kind of fucking suck. Especially the dentist and the one guy that they hyped up as being super creepy and just walks in a room to get shot. Because, the one security guard is like, well, of course, Dahmer and Gacy and Bundy are famous. Those are his examples. Are famous. But these guys aren't very famous because of how messed up they are. We had to hide how awful they were from the government, and they're in this abandoned prison, and then this is what happens. Very anticlimactic.